Here with reaction tonight, we have former NYPD Detective Bo Dietl, defense attorney Darryl Parks, also Fox News senior correspondent Geraldo Rivera. Let's start with these attacks. Seems to be open warfare on police. Now, here's my question, Geraldo. You have defended the president at times. I would argue we have 3,459 murders that have taken place in Chicago alone during his presidency. But he's only mentioned Chicago 9 times. We have thousands others shot and injured. But if it's Ferguson, he rushes to judgment without any facts. If it's Trayvon Martin, he rushes to judgment without any facts. If it's Freddie Gray or if it's the Cambridge police, he does the same thing. If he really cared about black lives and all lives, wouldn't he be speaking out loudly about Chicago?
That is a good point, and let me just put it in the context of his visit to Dallas tomorrow. When he goes to show his respect, his sorrow over the horrible murders, the savage murders of these 5 cops, he cannot also be talking about Black Lives Matter and the fact that too many black men are being victimized by cops. That is an issue, an important issue, but for tomorrow. He has to act and transmit his feelings in the same way he did in the Charleston, South Carolina church massacre.
Bo Dietl, he met in the Oval Office with the head of Black Lives Matter, what's his name, DeRay McKesson, who's been on this program, and other leaders. And by the way, after the meeting, he praised them. Hillary Clinton praised them. This is the group on tape chanting, pigs in a blanket, fry them like bacon. What do we want? Dead cops. When do we want them now?
Right. What do we want? Dead cops. And we were all here a year and a half ago when they were closing down the Brooklyn Bridge. They were closing down all the roadways. We had 2 cops assassinated a year and a half ago in New York. My president didn't come to New York. It wasn't that important for him to come. He should have had to show support for the officers in this country. They were assassinated the same way that these the Dallas cops were assassinated. We need a leader to show that he cares about these cops. I get emails all over from doing your show from cops all over the country saying, please, Bo, keep speaking out for us. No one else is. Our president is not.
Darryl, would you meet with the head of Black Lives Matter? Do you think it's appropriate for the president of the United States or a presidential candidate to say good things about a group that has members chanting, what do we want? Dead cops. When do we want them now? Pigs in a blanket, fry them like bacon. Do you think that's appropriate?
Sean, I think you're mixing 2 things up.
I'm not mixing the 2. They went to the White House.
Listen, I think
they met with the president. Hillary Clinton has praised them. Would you praise that group?
Listen,
would you praise that
group? They deserve praise. Yes, they do. Now,
they deserve praise?
The president going to Dallas tomorrow is about honoring these officers.
Did you say they deserve praise?
Let me say this here.
The people that say we want dead cops?
Let me say this here. I think you're confusing some issues, right?
No, I'm pretty sober about it.
When you have these kids who are out there, and you take it out of context, meaning that there are a few individuals who may say things out of line, but I think the concept of Black Lives Matter is very
with all due respect, all lives matter, right, Darryl?
They all matter.
But let me say this.
But
you were in the Ferguson case.
Yes, I was.
Okay, you know why the officer in that case, Wilson, wasn't indicted? Because black eyewitnesses, even though Obama spoke out without any evidence presented, black eyewitnesses identified Michael Brown fighting for a cop's gun, identified Michael Brown charging that officer after repeatedly being told not to, after he knocked up a store.
Now you got the advent of the Black Panther, the new Black Panthers. They walk with shotguns. They want to kill cops. They say it right out. I remember the Black Liberation Army in 1970 killing 13 cops in New York. Foster and Laurie, Piagentini and Jones. Then in 1971 we had 11. No, it's the environment that's coming back.
But the fact of the matter is, in Ferguson, Michael Brown, the cop was innocent because there was no crime committed. It was a lie. Hands up, don't shoot. Hold it one second. But what the Justice Department found was that there was systematic racism in the town of Ferguson, Missouri, that the Ferguson Police Department was funding itself by giving tickets to black people.
That's not what
we can't deny that there is injustice.
Geraldo, you're an attorney.
Vis-a-vis the black community.
Geraldo,
I got to come back. You didn't let me make my...
3,459 murders in Chicago.
Yeah, I get that.
I get that. Fit the racial narrative.
That is
Obama just racist.
The moral fault of the Black Lives Matter, that it won't cop to the fact that the reason there's this tension between the black community and cops is because of black-on-black crime, and that's where the police have that terrible experience.
I disagree with you in the fact that, listen to me, right now, we have bad cops, like they say, bad doctors. Right now, if these cops did something wrong, they should get tried and prosecuted. My point is, you got guys going out there, 0.5% of cops turn with doing bad things.
What percentage of Black Lives Matter are these jerk-offs?
Even in the clergy, it's more than 0.5%.
Hold on, wait a minute now, guys. We just saw last week, we saw 2 black men get murdered, right? We saw them get murdered.
Murder is a legal term.
They were
wait a minute, stop.
Well, you didn't see.
Wait a minute. Do cops deserve the presumption of innocence? Are we going to do trial by partial videotape? Wait a minute. Do those cops deserve a fair trial? Yes or no?
They deserve a fair trial.
They do. So it's not murder. You don't know it's murder. Murder's a legal term.
Okay, so listen to me. If those cops were bad, let's all say they were bad and they killed those gentlemen. Don't they deserve the due process of law? Or should we hang them from a tree?
But more importantly, can't we all agree that what we want tomorrow is the President of the United States to go to these 5 families in Dallas
and
say, I'm sorry this happened to you?
How about he apologizes to the officer in Ferguson? Wait a minute. That lost his job because he jumped the gun.
Why can't he be the healer in chief?
Because he's not. He's a divider.
But you've got to give him a chance.
Really?
Hold on, I got the answer. Why doesn't he talk to Chief Brown? Let him talk to Chief Brown. I challenge the president to talk to Chief Brown of what the problem is. And the problem is not the cops. The problem is the environment. When 70% of black children don't have a father and they're being brought up by a mother, that is an issue.
Part of the issue.
I got a question for Geraldo. Inappropriate for the president to meet with the head of Black Lives Matter based on what they have said and the chance they have made?
I do not think it was inappropriate.
I think it was.
What I do think is
what do you want now?
Seriously?
I want the president to be the racial healer.
He's been 8 years in resistant judgment, Mr. Constitutional Attorney. He's a four-time loser, Geraldo. He was wrong on Trayvon, Sean,
why can't he go to these families and say, I'm sorry this happened to you. Thank you for your service.
How about he apologize to the cops for rushing to judgment? When is he going to apologize to the cop in Ferguson?
Do we really want this country split black and white like this?
He split it. Sean, the cop in Ferguson doesn't have a job anymore, and he didn't do anything.